Hi, I'm Tamara Lackey, and on this episode of reDefine show for Adorama TV, I speak with landscape photographer and educator Matt Kloskowski about a question a lot of photographers have. When do you know when it's time to head out on your own? Especially when it means leaving a relatively secure company that you've been working for. We talk about the fears, the preparation, and the leap. Check it out.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm excellent. What's going on?
I want to talk to you, and I would love for you to share with us
I'm in a good place for that.
your transition out of being in the, not corporate world, but certainly always working, well, initially, actually you were in the corporate world, working for somebody else your whole life.
Yeah.
And when you decided, and why you decided, to kind of take off and be the man on your own.
I think you don't have this defining moment. At least I didn't have a defining moment that said, I have to go off and do this on my own. I think it kind of built over time. I worked at Kelby Media for 10 years.
And you did a few shows there, right? You were doing...
Yeah, we did Photoshop
Grid.
TV. We used to do something called Photoshop Radio.
Oh my
This
God.
was before podcasts.
Oh my God.
Think 2004,
Yeah.
you had an iPod that only played music, and a podcast was only audio. And we used to actually sit
visual
there.
subject.
We used to sit there in an office and say, so imagine the layers panel, and if you press this will happen.
Whoa.
And so it started Photoshop Radio, then it went to Photoshop TV, and then we started all these other shows. So lots of different content and opportunities and whatnot. But I don't think it wasn't like I woke up one day. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave. It's just, I think over time, you start to change and you start to realize, maybe it's for growth. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
So
What do you mean growth? Like you weren't tall enough?
Yes, I needed to get a little bit taller. I think growth as in, I don't know, being out on my own in a way. Honestly, I always...
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, honestly, I always kind of felt, and it wasn't a bad thing. I will number one be eternally grateful for Scott and everybody at Kelby Media for giving me a platform when really I wasn't very good when I started. So not only gave me a platform, but also gave me the time to grow into it.
Yeah.
So I'll always be grateful for that. But honestly, we're being real about it. Like there were times I was like, so does anybody even care about what I do like outside of here? Like will I leave here and people are like, all right, later, buddy, and that's it. And nobody cares, Yeah. So I have to be honest in that. I didn't know.
Right.
And I luckily found out that there's a lot of really nice people out there that followed me and kind of followed me on to endeavors after that.
So the concern was, here, I know I have an audience. I know I have a steady role, and I know that people know who I am as Matt from Kelby Media or Kelby One. But if I leave, does everything drop off?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
then at that time, I had toyed around with going out on my own and just doing education for my own website.
Right.
And I honestly think and you and I have talked about this concept. I think overall things happen. There's timing, and then there's preparedness, and I think they both have to come together for things to succeed.
Right.
So the timing's got to be right, and there's a few things that make timing right. You can sense the timing's right, the industry's right, whatever. But then there's you being prepared and having a vision for it. So I actually think the timing probably would have been right then, but I could never see it.
Yeah.
Like I had no vision whatsoever.
That's true.
And then...
Because the energy you bring into the endeavor affects it as well. So if your energy is very insecure and very nervous and very unsure, you're probably creating some of that as well.
Yeah, and to anybody watching out there, if whether it's photography, whether it's creative, design, anything, if you don't believe it and can't see it through and can't see success, I don't think you're going to get there.
Right.
Like that's really kind of the first step is you have to see it. And
yeah.
I definitely didn't see it then. I think part of what helped me not see it was I had kids going to college pretty soon. So,
financial concern.
Yeah, there was
real.
A safety net in going to work somewhere else with a salary and a consistent paycheck, and I wasn't gonna walk in and say, "Hey, family, guess what, guys? I'm gonna go out on my own, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You guys might not." You guys might be paying for college on your own. So
just hang on to all the clothes you have right now.
Yeah. So that wasn't the right thing to do just then.
So you ended up going to On One.
I ended up going to On One, and that believe it or not, it was weird because I thought it'd be interesting to be on a different side of software,
right?
Like where I could help develop software and build software and all that. Where I was still going to teach and educate there, but I was going to kind of bring community in and bring that community to develop the software as well as me kind of be the spokesperson for that. And I realized the software world just happens way too slow. So
that's right, because right now we're on like a certain new iteration, beta 3. You're like, when does it just go out?
And On One's one of the fastest.
Yeah, they're working hard. They're working hard. It's just the process.
Yeah, you come in, you're like, hey guys, this would be a great feature. I'm like, okay, awesome, we'll have it in 12 months. Which in the software world is actually fast.
It's actually great, yeah. And they're producing a great product, but it's just a whole different mentality.
Yeah. So I realized, like, I'm the photo educator. Like, I just want to use what I want to use to get the job done, and I kind of need to go all over to do that. Pull from different parts and different places. So that was kind of the epiphany. Is I was an educator.
Yeah.
I was an educator that thankfully had a lot of people that resonated. Like I could talk with.
Yeah.
But also On One was really good because the way that they run their business, I learned a lot about business there.
Huh.
And that is when I took the other, timing and preparedness. I think that part of that is when I took the preparedness.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and
I didn't
honestly,
know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I learned a lot there, and that's when, when I left there and I decided to start my own education on my own website, I actually, and you and I have talked about this offline, but I couldn't see it failing.
Right.
I took that leap, but I knew, I just did not see, and it sounds maybe arrogant, but I really didn't see it. I'm like,
this does sound arrogant, don't you think? Yeah.
I'm like, I really knew, this is going to work. I can see it all the way through.
Yeah, and that is really interesting because, you'd mentioned earlier in a conversation we had that it might have been right 5 years ago. Yeah. But you didn't see it all the way through, not even a year prior to you doing it.
No.
And once it all clicked in.
Yeah, because we used to talk back then, and I never saw it.
Right, and so at this point, you found out that you were able to get people to follow you and maintain that great audience, and then do course development. Yeah,
I kind of went after it as, I'm not going to bring anything to the table in the large, big company education market. I'm not going to try to compete there because I'm not going to be able to bring you, everybody's bringing in all these educators and kind of going a very wide kind of spectrum of training. So I kind of realized I can be almost the craft beer of education.
Super deep in this one.
So I'm not going to have 100,000 customers. I'm not even going to try to have 100,000 customers. I don't want 20 employees. I don't want 10 employees. I want a small, me, my wife, I would love to have a graphic designer and a video person, but that's it.
4 craft beer drinkers with me.
So, but I kind of realized I can be the craft beer of this, where I can be a little bit more personal for people, kind of be there to answer questions, craft courses that might not sell to 100,000, but can sell to a good group of people that want to learn that way.
Yeah, and are eager to hear from you and eager for the next release, and that's really cool because that's something you develop with an audience through connecting with them and really understanding them and having that relationship.
Yeah, you got to hear their questions. You got to be there to have people ask questions, and I think in my previous lives, I was never really able to do that because I was so busy going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I was never able to stop. Nobody could email me. My email address did not exist anywhere out on the web. And I've changed that now. Now there's many places to get a hold of me, and I get all my course ideas from people that ask questions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would make sense. So that brings us to the other part, which is, do you find it that, and I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it, do you find that you are working less or more now that you're completely on your own?
Oh my God. So it's, you know the answer to that, and it's 10 times more, but.
Because that could have gone either way. When you hesitated right there, for the person listening, you could have said that either way. Oh my God, it's so dramatic. Because you could have been like, I'm working so much less.
Yeah.
Because I can set my own hours, or it could be what reality is for a lot of people who go out on their own.
Yeah, it is. And I thought I worked hard before that. Like throughout 15 years in this business, I thought, you know what, I've put hours in.
Yeah.
And it is, you know, it just never stops. I don't know if I don't know if you and I have talked about this before, but like I've always considered my audience to be people who really do photography for a hobby. Maybe make some money with it. I know a lot of professionals follow me too, but really like people just do it for a hobby because they love it. And so they have other jobs, they've got kids, they've got husbands, wives, grandchildren, whatever. And so you know, they'll come home after work and they'll have a couple hours to play in Photoshop or learn Photoshop.
Right.
So when that email dings at 8 o'clock at night, I should shut it off. But then I start thinking, I'm like, well, if they're like me, this is the time where they're going to be able to learn. Like, they, you know, if I don't get back to them tonight, then they lost the whole night.
Yeah.
So there's a question, like they can't download a course, the link is broke, whatever it happens to be. But so then you want to go answer it because you want to help them because they probably need it that night.
And also, running your own business means you're now in charge of all the parts that you weren't doing before when somebody else was doing a big part of it. I mean, you get to own it, you get to set direction, you can be the vision and the strategist. And
luckily, I have my wife with me too. So she developed a good marketing background, a good advertising background in what she did before. So she knew how to manage an email list where so much is done on email, so much is done on Facebook. So
and she's a Facebook guru now, right?
She's like, I would take a class from her.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
you should have her do a class.
She should do a class. I seriously, like, she comes in and she shows me the stuff. I'm like, I never would have thought of that. Yeah. I would have just hit boost.
Right.
Boost, $30, here you go.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, no, that's really helpful, partnering with the right person, especially if there's somebody who can do the job that you don't have an interest in doing, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Thank you so much, Matt, for that wonderful insight. It's very helpful. Check us out here next time on Adorama TV. And while we are gone from each other, click subscribe so you can look at all kinds of how-to tutorials and whatnot.